AutoCAD doesn't have a command that I need. So I'm going to create it using macros to work faster. So I started identifying the problem that was slowing me down, right? And I had this RCP plan, which is an XREF, and I was trying to locate my restroom fan, right, exactly on top of my toilet. But of course, in order to do that, I will have to see my toilet underneath. So I was again wasting time doing many different things, like for instance, going to my layer palette and trying to find my toilet layer to unfreeze it or turn it back on. Or also, what I was trying to do is opening my Xref, right? Going to right click and open Xref, and then of course I will see where my toilet is. It was right here in this corner, and I had to close my drawing and then go back, and now I'll know where to place my fan. Right now, as you can see, all of this trouble that I had to do in order to place my objects efficiently. So I said, no, this needs to stop. And the way I started creating this macro was opening my macros palette, right? So using the command macros option in AutoCAD. So that's the command macros palette right there. And since I had already a couple of macros commands that AutoCAD gave me, I simply right clicked on one of those and said command macro editor. And this way I could access um, all of these different options for this command. And of course, the first thing that I input was the name of my command, right? So I call it the lazy all on command, because again, this will help me to quickly turn all of my layers on so that way I can work faster, right? And following on, what I did is expanded the macro option right here and started to add in some simple codes, right, that will help me create again this command that AutoCAD doesn't have. So the first thing that I did was using the CC to, of course, cancel or active any, to cancel any active command, right? This would be the characters 2-time cancel on your keyboard. Again, this is very important because you might be inside one command already, and if you run your macro, it will give you errors. So the next thing I did was use the layer options with this um, with this character right here to that will let us use the layer command from the command line version, so that way we can avoid any windows or pop-outs, right? So once I did that, I press enter, of course, using by this semicolon that represents an enter in your keyboard. So then what I needed was the thought option. So that's what I use the T option to thought my layers. And AutoCAD will ask me by this point, what layers do you want to bring on or thought, right? And the ones that I need, of course, were everything. So I use this character to that represents everything, and of course I pressed enter a couple of times. So this short macro code, when I tested it right by clicking OK, so what happened is that the next time I needed to locate any of my objects and see things below, I would only go to my lazy all on command, click on it, and boom, all of my layers will be on, showing on like this. So then I could easily now move my objects whenever I need it. In this case, I wanted to place it exactly, close to the toilet, right? Like so. And of course, I could quickly revert all of my layers on by simply using the layer P option or command. So once I hit that, of course, all of my layers will be as I wanted it. So now the issue with this command was that what will happen if my layers are not only frozen, but maybe there were turn off using a command like the lay off or lay on command, right? What will happen with this code then? Well, that's where I needed to go back to my command macros, right? Palette, because I needed a way to bring back again some of those layers that are or that were turned off, right? So for instance, you can see if I select my command right here, turn on, I don't know if maybe layers that again were turned off using the lay off command. So I'm gonna do then we're using the control C, and what I did is went back to my command macros and of course went to command macro editor and added the following piece of code. So what I added was the command lay on, and of course pressing enter to activate that command. So this command, what will help me is that now when I run my lazy all on command, of course I want that everything shows on, right? So now if I select that, I'm gonna see that not only some of these layers that were frozen are on, but also some of the layers that were on. For instance, I can see right here, let's see, this column right here that was off. So if I do Control Z, right, you can see that now certain items such as columns right here that were not frozen but were only turned off now will also show up. And that's what I wanted. Now, there was another issue with this command, guys. And the issue was that what about some of these points, right? Weird points that don't let us maybe zoom extend correctly. So for instance, let's see if I can open another file right here, my floor plan. So I'm going to open a new file again, and look what happened with this file when I zoom extend by double clicking on my middle mouse wheel. Do you see that? So there gotta be something around here, maybe a small or tiny point again that is not showing up, and the lazy all on command will need to have something in there, right, to bring or show these tiny points. So the way I did it was, of course, using again going back to my command macro editor right here, and I needed to add a I needed to add again another piece of code to help me show those tiny points, right? That are off. And the way I did it was using a system variable called PD mode, and of course pressing enter. And what PD mode is, it will give us the ability to show the sizes of different points. So for instance, if I go over here on the AutoCAD help site, we can see that PD mode system variable again will give us all of these different values. And of course, this is a personal preference, but I would like to show my points with this X symbol. So I'm going to use the 3 option, and you can pick any of these. So that's what I did. I say PD mode and 3 and enter. Now, this will only change the symbol for your tiny point, but what about the size, right? I want also the size to be bigger so I can see, right? I can see it. And the way you can do this is by using another system variable. In this case would be the PD size. So PD size, and of course following by an enter, right? And again, we will need an input over here, right? And the input that we're gonna use is, in this case, I'm gonna use 3. So I wanna see the size of these points 3 times bigger, and of course pressing enter. Once I did that, I went ahead and click OK. And now whenever I want everything on, right? All of my layers, all of my points, everything, because again, I want to see all the items that I have in this drawing. So I will go to my lazy all on command and I will click on it, right? And you can see now uh, that there is a point right here. Now, the size again is not helping, and that's an issue because we can see the point, but it's very tiny. So what we can do is go back to the command macros editor and simply play with the size of the PD size, right? So what I'm gonna do is change it to maybe 10 and see if that helps. So I'm gonna click OK and then simply go ahead and run the command again, and you can see that we can see now all of our points in our drawing. Of course, this point I don't need it, so I can simply erase it, right? uh, but that was the beauty of this command. What will happen with hidden objects, right? So for instance, let's hide an object right here. So let's draw something about right here, and let's hide it, right, with the hide object command. So I'm going to hide it. So again, this command won't work with this because let's try it. You can see that our objects that are hidden won't show on. So that's a problem. So let's undo and do Control Z. And in order to make this work for our command, let's go back to the command and go to the command macros editor, because we need to add small piece of code here, and that is the command and height. All right, and of course following by a semicolon or an enter, right? So this will help us again to show all of those hidden objects. So let's quickly test it, and I'm gonna go ahead and click our lazy all on, and boom, you can see now not only our layers that were frozen, our layers that were off, but also our hidden objects are showing now, which is what we want, because now we can decide whether we need these objects. In this case, I don't need these objects that were hidden, right? And then I can of course use the layer P option to go back to our desired state, maybe once or a couple of times like so, and that way we are ready to go. Now, what will happen with wipeouts, right? As you can see over here, there is a weird missing part on my ceiling plan, and probably that's something that is hidden in there. It's not, again, our command right now don't won't show it, as you can see. So that means it's not hidden, but might be a wipeout right there, right? And we don't want that. So let me undo that. And so we need to add also that option to our command, so it's more helpful, right? So the way I'm gonna do it is, again, go to my command macro editor, and I'm gonna add this other small piece of code that is the system variable wipeout frame, right? So pressing following by a semicolon or an enter, the wipeout frame will help us show those hidden wipeouts right there. And the option that we need is the number 2 to again show those borders of those wipeouts. So I'm going to click OK and test the command one more time. So I'm going to go lazy all on, and now I can see that this is a wipeout again that was giving me trouble. So if you go to the properties, you can see that that's a wipeout. And again, at this point, I can decide whether I need this or not. And of course, I can delete it because I don't need it. And again, I can go to the layer P command to go back maybe a couple of times by pressing enter again, and I will be ready to go. Now, the last piece of information that I needed was a way to um, the way to let the person that is going to use this command know what's going on, right? Like, how would they know what this command does, right? There's no way for other folks to use this command. So a way to help with that is to add an alert, right? To add an alert to this macro command. So the way that I'm gonna do it is, again, going to the command macro editor and simply add this small piece of code. I'm gonna paste it, and it's again an alert. And the alert can be anything, but for instance, I can say all your objects are on, right? And you can maybe be more specific. Use the layer P command to undo, right? Again, that's all up to you, but the more details that you give, the better, right? So then once I clicked OK, and of course tested it, this command, the lazy all on, I'm gonna see that there is a message that says all of your objects are on. Use the layer P command to undo, so that way I can do whatever I need, maybe remove, arrange something over here, maybe copy another of these restroom fans right here, and then I can quickly use the layer P, oops, to go back um, where I need it. All right. So, what do you think about this command, the lazy all on? I use it all the time at the office where I work. But you let me know in the chat